We call our users Chipsters. We have over
Nice.
18,000 Chipsters who are building, solutions, and they're servicing over 70 million conversations. And these Chipsters are so creative and using the tool in ways you never imagined. So we just had our conference, and so it was fun because we had people speaking about using Chip, and I didn't even know what they're all going to say. One of my favorites is a group called Nexa AI. They're based in Dubai, and they've integrated Chip with WhatsApp, which is the main form of communication. And with WhatsApp, they work with hotel chains to take booking reservations all through WhatsApp, powered by Chip. So, potential customer is maybe going to the hotel website and they click on the WhatsApp button, it launches a conversation, and then they can just talk about what they're doing. Like, hey, I'm coming for this. I have 4 kids. I have a dog. And Chip is able to suggest specific rooms with the link directly to the shopping cart with that exact room based on availability. So it's pulling the availability, giving answers, sending them to the booking. They showed us how they were tracking referral clicks from Chip, and in 3 weeks sold over $12,000 worth of hotel rooms.
Welcome to the Limitless Enterprise Podcast. Everyone, this is Zico Fernandez. I'm the founder of Limitless Era, where we help prop tech and insurtech companies grow and run more efficiently with AI. Welcome to the Limitless Enterprise. This is a show about learning and growing together from the best in the industry. I chat with founders, innovators, and operators about their stories, the lessons they've learned building their companies, and how are they thinking about the future and how they're positioning for it. Maybe these insights will help you also grow your company and run efficiently with AI. With that said, let's dive in. Before that, I should mention, the goal is simple: to help us all be a little more smarter, sharper, and more limitless together. With that said, I have Scott Meyer over here. He's the founder of Chip AI. Scott, over to you. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Great to be here, Zico. Yeah, I'm the co-founder of Chip. We help businesses integrate AI and generate leads, with the power of AI, and help mostly small, medium-sized businesses really get software margins on service business, so they can take what huge enterprises are doing and actually do it for their small businesses. So really excited to have this chat.
Yeah, and I like the way you phrase it. That's the same vision that I have. It's, Fortune 500 tech to the common man, to the mainstream.
Yeah, exactly. Right? I think that's a huge opportunity. I call it the chip switch, right? Where it's like, right now, for people to build custom, powerful AI, you really have to be able to go into and really do a lot of work, right? To pull these tools off and build. And to me, it feels a little bit like Shopify or Squarespace, where it's like any business should have the best AI, right? Like there shouldn't be a barrier. And, today, if you start your company and you create a Shopify store, you probably have a shop that's as like efficient as some of the huge companies in the world who are running Shopify as well. And I think AI could be the same thing.
That's good. And I think probably that's also your vision, because I could see a few things on the side of how you can monetize the agents, and now it is easy.
Exactly.
So I think that I can understand your vision right now from what you just said. Okay. With that said, Scott, why don't we dive into your story, right? Before you started Chip, why did you start Chip? What were the early roles for you, early beginnings for you?
Yeah, I had been teaching developers AI, right? Right around the time ChatGPT came out. And when it came out, it was obvious to me that I could help businesses use AI, not just techies. Mm-hmm. I've spent most of my career, I'd say, democratizing technology. So my first company was an agency, and we basically taught people to use social media for business, which was in 2009, which seemed crazy. Right? Yeah. And at the time, there were no Facebook pages even. We were basically doing Facebook profiles with the business name as the first and the last name, And so my entire career, I've kind of thought about, how do I help people who live by me, right? In Fargo, North Dakota, take advantage of tech. And AI seems even more important for that, because you can really, like I said, you can have software margins with a service business. You can scale without as much headcount. You can get time back for the things that matter. So that was kind of the impetus. And originally, we built Chip to help people build and sell AI tools. We thought, hey, everyone could become a builder, which is how we got our name Chip, which was the next version of Stripe, right? It was going to be a way to charge for AI tools. Pretty quickly, we built a playground so people could build an app as an example of how to sell it. And then people said, we actually want that app, not the selling thing. So we pivoted from becoming a payment solution to an app building solution. And it's kind of full circle, because just last Thursday, Stripe was speaking at our ChipCon, our conference, our user conference, and announced a partnership with us. So we thought we were going to compete with Stripe, but instead we're now partnering to build the future of AI agents.
Okay, that's amazing. So that's a big partnership too. So
Yeah, it's exciting.
congratulations over there. It does help everyone who want to monetize these agents. There is a part to it, right? So you're not building for just building sake. That's awesome. Why don't you tell me more about Chip for those who have not played around with Chip?
Yeah, of course.
What can you tell them? I played with it, but it's better to get it from right from you.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite way to describe it is brand native AI. So you think about, we all use ChatGPT. It's awesome. It helps you work smarter, but we want ChatGPT, but for our brand, right? So it looks like our brand, it talks like our brand. We can see the conversations and the data. We can choose how private it is. We can connect it where we want. And we know that, the large language model providers, the Googles, the Anthropics, the OpenAIs, they're not exactly excited to give you control over the conversations or the data. That's very valuable for them. So what we do at Chip is we give you the power of AI for your own company. And a lot of people use that for generating leads. So imagine a chat on the website trained on your own data. We build voice agents so people can talk or call and speak to your agent that's trained on your information and data. People use it for following up with customers. So you can imagine support or sales training or tutoring, anything that is kind of learning or sharing information. And then a lot of marketing, right? So you could imagine if you can see the conversations people have with your AI, you could then build marketing and campaigns around the needs or the questions customers have. So it really creates a full cycle kind of insights and knowledge sharing with customers. So yeah, just imagine anything you would do with like a ChatGPT, but instead you get to control it and have power over it.
Yeah, and all that insights does help in.
Totally. There's so much. It's qualitative research at scale, like you can literally see what are the most common questions. You can have it, on the phone with customers at 9 p.m. when nobody's standing by the phone. And then instead of being an old school answering machine, which is really a message machine, this literally is an answering machine where it's giving answers and taking the message for you, right? So
Yeah,
it might answer the customer's questions so they don't have to bother you in the morning. So
yeah.
great solution if you're running if you're a plumber, if you're a teacher trying to have after hours tutoring, if you are a dentist trying to triage inbound calls, like all of that's very possible.
Okay. So let's talk about a few use cases now. Okay. So
Yeah.
you talked about the capabilities. Before we get into some specific use cases that I would like to talk about, why don't you tell me something that you were amazed by the community, by the marketplace that
Yeah.
people have used
That's
it
the
for?
best.
Tell me what you have seen.
Yeah.
Because, the way you envision the product and the way people use it, if people are far more creative, it just,
Oh my gosh.
together, right? So tell
That's
me
my biggest
what was
takeaway.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. We call our users chipsters. We have over 18,000 chipsters who are building, solutions, and they're servicing over 70 million conversations. And these chipsters are so creative and using the tool in ways you never imagined. So we just had our conference. And so it was fun because we had people speaking about using Chip, and I didn't even know what they're all going to say. One of my favorites is a group called Nexa AI. They're based in Dubai, and they've integrated Chip with WhatsApp, which is the main form of communication. And with WhatsApp, they work with hotel chains to take booking reservations all through WhatsApp, powered by Chip. So, potential customer is maybe going to the hotel website and they click on the WhatsApp button. It launches a conversation, and then they can just talk about what they're doing. Like, hey, I'm coming for this. I have 4 kids. I have a dog. And Chip is able to suggest specific rooms with the link directly to the shopping cart with that exact room based on availability. So it's pulling the availability, giving answers, sending them to the booking. They showed us how they were tracking referral clicks from Chip, and in 3 weeks sold over $12,000 worth of hotel rooms. So just like really cool to see Chip being deployed in WhatsApp, first of all, and then being used with people around the world, and the people using it don't even know they're using AI, right? Like they think they're
Yeah.
talking to a customer
To
support
another
rep. So
human.
really fun example, like in a field that we did not think of, and a field that, high upside, lots of people trying to build solutions there.
Yeah, that's an easy top line increase for anyone, right?
Yeah.
So that's cool. So I have a few things that I wanted to run by you. I like that example. It's just like the rest of the world uses WhatsApp a lot. You don't
Yeah.
get not so much in US, but if you talk internationally, people prefer using WhatsApp, and it's very native. Like India uses a lot of WhatsApp by
Yeah.
default, right? So that's a good use case. It's not just a chatbot. That's everybody has it on the phone. I like that idea of that's another point of entry instead of doing your
Yeah.
website as a chatbot. Cool. So talk to me about I have a use case. Like I'm a say. Do you see people like plumbers all these service businesses. Someone building a full-fledged solution for all of these flows that you talked about and packaging it as a solution built on top of chip and selling it to plumbers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think
Do you
about
see people doing that already?
Yeah. So we have gold partners who are essentially like consultants or agencies, oftentimes one person who has an expertise in a field.
Yeah.
And I think about Murray, who he's a expert carpenter. So he actually goes out to Montana in the United States and builds amazing cabins. But then he also works as an AI consultant because he's using AI to run his business more efficiently. So he's helping other contractors basically use AI for getting leads and managing the leads. Because if they're, building a house, they don't have time to talk on the phone or gather those leads. They also use it for supply lists. So you can imagine I'm building 1,000 square foot floor that needs heat. Like, what do I need? And it'll just spit out the supply list. They can give it to the subcontractors. And they use it inside ERP systems so that their employees know where to find stuff. We have an HVAC company doing something similar where they trained it on all of the instruction manuals for all of the equipment they service. So when they're out in the field, instead of looking up a video on YouTube on how to fix something, they can just ask, what do I do on the Honeywell 3000 when this error code shows up? And it just tells them straight from the instruction manual. So really nice use case where it saves time. It makes them look more professional. And also it helps the company see what are the things my team don't know how to do yet that I should train them on. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is just improvement everywhere. I like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Okay. Now, so that's really good. So people are using it and selling these sort of like it's SaaS built on chip, right? Or
Yeah,
AI
exactly.
agents
Yeah.
built on
Yep.
chip. That's a cool use case. Okay, cool. Now, so any other agencies that you think have done a very good job in doing for non-service businesses that come to your mind?
Yeah, I think about like Growth AI Partners out of Chicago. They help nonprofits use AI, and they're doing it for like writing grants is like a key use case. You can imagine where you have previous grants, you have previous annual reports, you train the agent on your organization, your voice, and then you say, now we want to go get money for this project based on these requirements. It has to be 5,000 characters for this question, 1,000 characters for that question. And instead of having to squeeze stuff in a little box on a website, AI will write it for you in your voice, and you can just apply for a lot more grants, have a lot more impact with a lot fewer headcount. So they've been using that to great success with organizations like the Boy Scouts of America and other nonprofits. So that's another fun use case where it's you see AI really increasing impact.
Yeah.
There's actually a nonprofit organization locally here in Fargo, and they use it to teach wealthy individuals how to donate non-traditional assets. So if you want to donate your farm or a cow or a car to a nonprofit, like how can you do that and get a tax reduction? And so it's trained on the IRS tax code as well as books specifically for giving in these like unusual areas. So it's great. Great way to teach people or share unique information that they have that their audience needs to know.
So they just chat with it and they understand what they need to do.
Yeah. The AI just says, what are you interested in donating? They say a cow, and then it's like, is it part of a corporation? Do you own it personally? How many? So there's a lot of questions that I didn't know about when donating a cow.
Cow. Okay. Wow. That's amazing. I like these. These stories are really interesting, But yeah, I can see this going all over the place. Now, talk to me about, what do you see if we see all the data? Okay, before that, enterprises. Now, you're talking about small businesses over here, or are they enterprises that this could? What are the missing features that would get this used by enterprises, or where they want to secure that data? They don't want to share a lot of data out, maybe PII information or anything else. Talk to me about those type of use cases. How do you have this whole infrastructure be more secure and give them that security?
Yeah. That's one of the primary needs for enterprises is just data security, and something that either they can't get with typical model providers or it's incredibly expensive. With Chip, we offer 3 levels of privacy. So any chat on Chip is not used for training, which means you're not going to be able to go into ChatGPT and ask, what did Zico say and find it. And it's not going to be showing up in another model in the future. If you use ChatGPT and don't turn that off, like your information's getting added into the training, right? So that's default. Second level is we offer what's called zero data retention. And ZDR is essentially where your information is not saved on Google's servers. So typically we use Gemini or Anthropic for this. And in this case, we ask the question and it's immediately deleted. So it's a stateless question. So that helps people not have issues with compliance where your information's not being saved elsewhere. The third level of privacy we offer is a private cloud. So if you don't want to be in our multi-tenant Chip install, you can actually have a private cloud. Chip runs as an application there. Your data is separate from others, and you can even encrypt the chats so no one can see them. And then we do have some large clients in highly sensitive areas, and they want open source LLMs that run in their own infrastructure. And so nothing is on chip or on model providers. So we partner with a company called Prediction Guard. They provide the open source APIs. We provide the application in the cloud, and then their IT team can run it. So you can really choose the level of privacy. I think what we're seeing mostly is most people want to feel good that their information and customer data is not being shared. And then if they have a compliance need, they want to add on HIPAA or FERPA or, encryption. We just completed our SOC 2 Type 2 certification last month. And so we're able to, really build trust is our goal, that your data is safe and that you can choose the level that's right for you.
Okay. Behind the scenes, you would use model providers, though, right?
Yeah,
or
with
do
Chip,
you
you can
install
choose
them in-
from, 10 or so model providers, all different models. We have the latest models from OpenAI, from Gemini, from Anthropic, as well as Grok and open source providers like Mistral, Qwen, DeepSeek. So yeah, the most popular are like probably Gemini 2.5 Flash and Pro, Sonnet 4, GPT-5, Opus 4.1 are kind of the most popular models. And we have kind of a little guide on what each one's good at. So, if you're having a customer support chat, I like the Flash models because they're just fast, more conversational. If you're doing deep research or reports or strategy, like maybe Opus 4.1 or GPT-5 are good choices.
Okay. Now, are these models hosted in your infrastructure that way you can have this zero saves, or do you send it across to these model providers?
Yeah, so if people want zero data retention, essentially we filter the models only to the ones that are ZDR compliant.
Okay.
And then when the requests go through, we have it set up with those model providers that nothing's saved. So
Okay,
yeah, you
nice.
kind of upgrade there and then you choose the right models. In general, just think about Chip as an application on top of all these models. And we pay for all of the API calls. So there's no need to bring a key or pay for those. We basically cover that. So we do a subscription plus usage model. So a plan from $29 up to $99 or $299, depending on privacy and how many team members. And then with that, a third of it's for usage. So, if you're on the $99 a month plan, you get $30 worth of API calls, which is roughly 30 million words, right? So that's quite a bit of usage. But, we have video generation, we have phone calls. So if you're doing stuff like that, you'll use up those tokens and then you just pay for what you use. So you can, kind of back to the first point, we want every business owner to have access to the best models.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, we just want to tell people, hey, you can pick. Like if you want to use a more expensive model to have a better answer, it's there. If you want faster, cheaper, then you can go to a Flash model and you just pay for that based on the cost the model providers give us. So we just take the model provider cost, add 30%, and that's what you get charged.
Okay, cool. Now, one of the things while building agents, which and especially production grade agents, is to ensure that there is some evals. You want to make sure that you are improving over time. It doesn't talk in weird languages, or make up its own language, for example. So talk to me about evals. How is that easier or difficult with Chip versus the others? Because
there's
that's,
the
I think,
current
the secret
state and the
sauce,
future state. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, one thing that's nice with Chip is you can immediately duplicate any agents you've built and then build variations. So it's really easy. You just click 3 dots, click duplicate. It brings over any API connections you have, all the instructions, all the knowledge, the branding, everything. So what a lot of people will do is build it, make, 2 or 3 versions, do one in GPT-5, do one in Sonnet, do one in Gemini, and share it with different people or even use it themselves and see which answers feel the best. What we found for our users is most of the evals is qualitative. It's not a number this is X% correct. It's much more vibes and this feels like our company. For the quantitative piece, we're actually building that out right now. So we're working with our partner Google, and they have a evals tool that we can provide. The hard thing with evals is you need to know what you're evaluating against. And we found most of our users don't have a good answer of what a good answer is. They're figuring it out. So
Yeah, I think it's still early stages, but those who
yeah,
have done it are more confident in the agents
yeah,
that they deploy. So I think
yeah,
definitely that's a space that needs to be more researched or more,
yeah, exactly.
democrated.
And
So
I think
everybody needs to
larger
know about it.
companies, as we go, as the data is more important to get right, it's not just like creating a marketing blog post, which you can just edit. It's, real like customer data on the line, like,
Yeah.
hey, getting them to buy, like you need that right. So that's where evals become important.
Yeah. So yeah, that is an area that I'm glad that's the future, right? You're
Yep.
you're focusing on that. So okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Now talk to me about, high level trends that you see for your company or the ones
Yeah.
that provide agents. What's the trend like? Market trends.
Yeah, I think a big trend we're seeing and we're leaning into is just natural language building. So instead of using forms or clicks, you can really just vibe code or say what you want. So we've done that already on the Chip homepage. When you go to chip.ai, you just say what you want. So I want an agent that writes blog posts for my company and it creates the agent for you. It'll ask you if you have for your email, and if your email has your website in it, so it's not a Gmail, but it's a company email, it'll actually scrape that website for you so it knows everything about your company right when you land.
Okay.
So I think we'll see more and more of that where, we call it like client-side tool calling, which is basically I can say things and Chip will respond to it and build things in the background for me. So if I say I want to connect to HubSpot, it'll actually build that connection for me rather than me having to click the configure button. So just making it easier for non-techies to build. And I think we're seeing a big trend towards like physical AI, which is really interesting. So like we've done this with, we call them chips. So like you can get a business card, basically it's an NFC card and it's trained to an agent. And I just tap, I put my phone by it and it asks if you want to open it and it goes straight into the chat. And so we're finding ways to put AI into the physical. So one of my favorite stories is a farmer nearby Fargo. He puts stickers in his combine, which is the big machine that cuts the corn. And it's trained on the instruction manual for John Deere. And so when his farmhands have an issue, if it breaks or they get an error code, they actually ask the combine instruction manual bot what's wrong and how to fix it rather than calling up the farmer because he's busy all day taking calls and doing things in the field. So it's like, it's the same as a business trying to triage support calls, except it's for a physical machine. And so by putting AI in the places where people need it, rather than I have to go to ChatGPT and I don't know if the answer is going to be correct, I can train it, put it in the right place, and then people can act on it. So I think there's a fascinating like physical AI world.
So what you're saying this is an identification that you put on the physical device and they just tap their phone and it directly opens the agent.
Yeah, it's an NFC sticker
NFC
or
sticker.
card. Yep. Yeah, so it's basically like a QR code, but it's
Yeah.
you don't have to take a picture of it. It just opens kind of like a hotel room, when you tap your hotel key to the door. So yeah, it's a great way to get people to use AI without them having to know AI, right? Because they don't have to log in or prompt it or whatever. They just say, here's a picture of what's wrong, and then the AI understands it and fixes it.
Yeah, there's a lot of other capabilities that could unlock. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay, that's just getting started. Okay, talk to me about your company. What's the challenges right now for your company to help it grow? Where is your focus?
Yeah, I mean, our focus, I think now we feel like we have a good product focus and pretty clear feature set. So it's, first of all, it's always keeping up, right? Like we're a small team, only 4 people, but we're able to leverage AI and build, world-class product. But to do that, we have to say no to things and focus on what matters. So that's kind of where, we're seeing opportunities with small businesses and lead gen. And a big focus for us is now finding like distribution or channel partners. So just had a call today with Webflow about how you could one-click add, chats into your website, partnering with Stripe and Google. And like, we're not going to be able to do it alone. One thing I love about this moment is there's so many people building in AI. There's a lot of there's a lot of competition, but also you can look at it as there's a lot of people pushing the industry forward that we benefit from, So the fact that we're built on top of these models, as they get better, our product gets better, right? And so if we can just create a great UI, a great experience, an active community, which I think we have for sure, then we just like raising tide lifts all boats kind of thing. And that's exciting for me. So really trying to keep up, I'd say, and narrow in. For us, it's narrowing in on use cases, not industry. So like horizontal platform, but very good at specific tasks, I'd say.
Okay. Do you think video has gotten better
Video is
over the
awesome.
course?
Yeah, I mean, we have VO3.1 in it in chip, and it's unreal. It's short, so that's the big limit now, is it's 8 seconds, but it doesn't take much imagination to, see where we've come in the last 2 years and imagine a year or two out, you'll be doing full-length commercials, no problem. I think there's a lot of issues still with like using people or famous people and like how that feels. If it feels weird, like there's more cultural resistance than technical resistance, I would say. But I love it. I think it's so fun. And like what we're encouraging people to do is use the chat data to create your video. Like don't try to imagine what people want on Instagram Reels. Like see what they're asking about, then make a video about it and put it out. So it's like really data-driven marketing, but all AI generated. It's pretty interesting.
Do you have good analysis tool behind the scenes for them to give them insights on the data that
Yeah,
is
you can
created?
just ask questions.
Okay.
You basically bring in your chat logs as a data source, just like
Yeah.
you would any other, and then you just ask questions against it. It is true, like data analysis at scale, and AI is really good at unstructured data, right? So
Yeah.
if you want to calculate cells, just use a database, right? But if you want to get what are the top 5 themes that people have asked about, AI is better at that than we are probably. So it's great to use it for that.
One of the things that I wanted to also talk to you about was you are using a lot of these model providers and all the capabilities that they give you. Now, what does the app layer look like for video? For example, if people want to build ads, you position yourself as a horizontal, and others
Mm-hmm.
there could be other solutions that could be, we are good at building AI generated ads, right? But you are a platform. Maybe those type of platforms could be built on top of you, but I don't know how that cost works. But
Mm-hmm.
talk to me about you know, what's the pro versus the con of working with you versus them?
Yeah. I think the pro for Chip is the ability to build it exactly how you want. So we have a lot of like educators and schools who use Chip, and there's a lot of AI tools built just for education. Really cool. But they basically give you the pre-built thing, right? So if you want the AI to respond in your methodology or the way you work or your ethical perspective, like Chip's going to be better at that. So if you want to build, social ads, video ads in like a very pre-built sort of exactly, it always comes out the same way. That's a vertical tool, probably be better at that. If you want the freedom for anyone on your team to spin up an agent and build it however they want, like Chip is better at that. So we're definitely going after people who want to, like I said, have a brand native experience, one that's unique to them and not the same as every other user.
A use case like content creation, could that be solved using Chip, or is it better
Yeah,
to have a
content
vertical?
creation is a huge use case. So whether it's grants, blog posts, annual reports, emails even, every agent has an API. So they might vibe code an app with Replit or
Mhm.
Lovable and use Chip as a
Backend.
chat layer. So like there's lots of ways to pull that in different places. But content, anything that's a lot of text is just such a good use of AI, right? And content's
Yeah.
an obvious place where there's lots of text.
Okay, cool. That's good. One of the other things that we talked about evals. Another
Mm,
thing is, it seemed like Chip can help those who are getting started,
hmm
experience agencies, and also senior developers or
hmm
enterprise grade solutions, right? You have a lot of your SOC 2, maybe in the future you'll have ways to make HIPAA also compliant. So I like where that is all heading. What I wanted to ask is, to build complex agents, orchestrated agents. Talk to me about the capabilities that exist. How does one solve that right now? And how easy it is to do that in Chip?
Yeah. I think it's pretty easy. We have a couple of videos out there. You can do it right on Chip or you can do it through an automation platform. So as I mentioned, every agent on Chip has its own API, essentially it can be its own tool. So within Chip, you can have what are called tool calls. We call them custom actions. That's where you say something like, what's the latest bill being debated in Washington, D.C.? And it calls your legislative agent that has access to the API from congress.gov, and it pulls the most recent bills, and then you can ask questions. Or the classic example is you ask what the weather is. It's going to go pull an API and check the weather and bring it back. So you can do that, except it could be other chips, right? So you create what I call a concierge agent or your router agent. That's essentially the one that's really friendly, and it asks people what they want. And then if you say, I want to, write a blog post, maybe you have an agent specifically trained to write blog posts, and it actually sends the request to that agent. That agent has its own instructions that it follows to do that task, gets the output. That output goes back to the concierge, and then it serves it back to you. So you can just add chips as tools. We have a great YouTube video on that.
Okay.
I think the big thing I've seen is like, you probably can put it all into one until you start getting too long in the instructions, right? So if you're just writing blog posts and ads and emails or something, like that's probably one agent that just has different like instructions.
Subsections,
And so the first
instructions.
question it asks you is, do you want to write an email or a blog post? You say blog post. Now it's looking at the blog post instructions. But when you start to get over, I don't know, 10, 12 different tasks that it's going to do, there's more likelihood it'll mess up if it's all together, right? So at some point you need to break it into agents, and then those agents might have really long instructions. So I would tell people just start with one. You don't need a whole squad until you start having like context overlap and start having fewer quality results.
So one example, what people say is that you need to create content, maybe videos or blog
Mm-hmm.
posts, right? You need a research agent. You need human in the loop over there as a workflow to tell you, okay, these are the top trends. These are the ones. This is where fits your company or brand persona that you could write
Mm-hmm.
on. Then it does additional research, builds bots. So all of these could be separate, and then you have something that you can pass it to image or video generators to for other
Yeah, you could.
platforms.
I would probably do that in one.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay,
I
that's good.
haven't seen, there's not that many people who are so in depth that they need multiple agents. Like, I
Okay.
think people underestimate how big context windows are.
Okay.
If you're doing Gemini 2.5 Flash, which is like one of my favorite models, it's a million tokens. It's like 750,000 words. That's like 10 novels, right? So do you really have that many instructions? It's not going to fit. And so I use something I call step prompting, which is basically if-then statements in the instructions, right? So
Hmm.
first ask, are you doing deep research or a blog post? You say deep research. If they say deep research, do this, then ask them if the research looks good, then make a video of it, then ask them for edits. I get pretty good results that way. It does require more human in the loop because it's
Yeah.
asking you at each stage. But I actually think for most people that improves the results so much that they're okay with it. Most of us are okay clicking one on Claude Code, like, okay. And that's essentially what you're doing with this, where you're checking in. So that's
So
my hot take, I guess.
I like that. So you're basically saying the guideline for us, where the industry is heading is, at least the way people are getting educated. It says build purpose-specific agents for the same reason that it can be confusing. You want to scale the capability. But what you're saying is in some of these areas, it's not really that complicated. You
Yeah.
don't need to complicate and build them many. Now, if you're doing enterprise grade, these are replacing systems. Those could be, modular and separate, where each instruction could be 1,000 pages type. Maybe that's
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
could do that, right? Okay,
I
cool.
think it's like, it's interesting because there's, on one hand, it's like, okay, if I'm calling a CRM and you have 100,000 customers, like that probably should be its own thing. But the more common use case is I have two tasks that are really similar. And so if I upload my vacation policy document for hourly employees and my vacation policy for salaried employees, it's pretty easy for the AI to mess that up because they're very similar
Mhm.
texts, right? And so sometimes I think it's less about quantity and more about how similar are these tasks I'm trying to get it to do. And if I definitely don't want it to get confused, I could say, call your salary agent, and then that has the HR stuff for those people, or call your hourly agent, and that has the HR for those people. And then I know there's like a black line between the two. So that's, I think, more common. For sure, enterprise like has some different needs, but for your average user, like I would think more about it that way. Like how
Okay.
similar is the question to
Thank
something
you. I
else?
think that does help because you have given us a different take than what I'm seeing in the
Mm.
mainstream,
Yeah.
right? So these are good guidelines. Maybe you need to make a video on it if you don't
Yeah. I'm
already,
going to cut this.
because
So Ezekiel's going viral. Look out.
no, but that's a good video. I definitely like that part because that's not something that I've seen anyone say. So that's good. That makes total sense, though. By the way, okay, we are ending. We are going towards the end of the podcast. Why don't you tell me about maybe before that, is there anything that keeping you up at night?
Besides my kids, I
Don't
mean,
talk
there's
about
so
the
much, but I think it's like, it's all good stuff. Like we are living
growth.
in a magical time where we don't know the right path. Everybody's figuring it out. You see these massive companies investing in different directions. And so I just, usually I stay up trying to read, trying to just learn and keep up. But I think what we've learned is we listen to our customers, listen to our users, and then most everything we've built is because they've asked. And so that feels like the best approach for us thus far.
Okay, so your customers and the comments and the feedback is keeping you up at night, and
Yeah.
mainly because that's like you're sensing what future you're putting that in your product roadmap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the roadmap is it's written in pencil for sure.
Okay, cool. Where do you see Chip in the next 6 to 12 months? What's your focus area? What
Yeah,
are the
Chip is
top
gonna.
1, 2, 3 things that you want to do?
Yeah, we really want to build out a well-oiled lead generation machine. We deploy Chip should be everywhere, right? You can get it from your website, you can get it through phone, you can get it through chat, you can get it through email, you can get it on Slack, you can get it on Teams, like wherever you work. Chip can be there. And from that, we can extract information from conversations. So that could be leads, that could be insights for managers, that could be tasks. But we want to make it really easy for people to do that. So, I'm pretty old. I think about early days of MailChimp, how mind-blowing it was that you could just create an email list and it was so easy to connect, a spreadsheet in and it would automatically map everything, which is all standard now. But at the time, it blew my mind. And we want to be like that for AI, right? Where it's easy to get this incredible power and essentially grow businesses with AI rather than just having a flashy AI integration. So yeah, I'd say like getting really great at lead gen, getting really great at deployment in all these places, and then building out channel partnerships. So people who have users who want to add AI to some experience, whether it's building a website or whether it's, I don't know, signing up for a Google Cloud account and they can get us from the marketplace or something like that. We just need to be in all those places where we can be the first option to get started.
Okay. Could you elaborate a little bit more on what you mean by lead gen? Specifically,
Yep.
are you talking about building an agent for lead gen, or is it lead gen of your company, or is it lead gen
No,
as
like lead gen
horizontal
for
that can serve for all your
agents that
customers?
generate leads for our users. So a lot of our customers say that, they're not on the phone all the time. They don't have someone who can talk to customers. They might have a chatbot on their website, but it's very generic.
Inbound.
And
So
so
you're
we need
talking
to
about
just smooth that
inbound over
process.
there, right? So inbound
Yeah,
lead
yeah.
handling. When you said lead, is it outbound also?
Yeah, exactly. Because then once we have conversations, we're able to create marketing based on the
Okay.
questions that are the things that are unclear. And so you get a nice flywheel of,
Okay.
getting insights and then improving messaging. So you get more insights, so you improve messaging.
Automate the insight analysis
Yeah,
also there.
yeah. I
That's
think,
good.
we had, I was a longtime HubSpot partner with my first company, and they had inbound marketing, right? And I think now we see like brand native marketing where it's, your brand speaking to it, getting insights and then building the brand even more. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, we're excited to explore that space and, try to build this integration, like deploying not just to other software, but like I said, in the combine, at the doctor office, like whatever it might be.
Yeah, this is really brand building. It's not just lead gen, but also brand building. How do you get
Yeah.
that right? So that was a bigger picture over there. People like that. Brands attract more leads. So ultimately, you're doing inbound leads, understanding the problems, and outbound material to build your brand, and that's just a flywheel. So lead gen and brand building.
Yeah,
That's
that's
nice.
a good way to
That makes
think
sense.
about it.
That's a good way. Yeah, I was just thinking because lead gen becomes just a little bit small and people just talk outbound or
Right.
inbound, but you want to plug that into marketing and the material that you do, right? So that
Yeah.
becomes bigger than that builds companies and that also
Yeah.
that's when you get premiums
Yeah, exactly.
and
I like
capital
that.
ones. Yeah,
I'll
okay.
do that. Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay, that's good. Thank you so much, Scott. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I love your roadmap. I like where this is all headed and how easy it is to build solutions. I will definitely play around with this a lot more. Some of these service companies, I could build solutions and just create individual websites for these guys. I'll go play with these agents, right? Immediately
Yeah.
put it on a website and they can make calls with it. And you said you also have voice agents and phone numbers and everything all integrated
Yeah.
now. So it's an agent. Wow, that's awesome. I like that
Yeah.
part. So
Like you
I'm
said, we want to give the full power to everybody, right?
yeah.
So future's
Yeah, I
here.
think that covers a lot, right? That covers a lot. Those are all neat capabilities. And also, you will always be I'm amazed that you're doing this with just 4 people. So
Really 3, because I just talk. I don't do anything.
I'm sorry about it. I'm keeping you up from doing real work. Okay, let's end it here. Thank you so much, Scott. Have a
Great to
great
be
day.
here. See you, Zico.
Take care. Bye-bye.